In our last tutorial, I taught you guys how we could get this header section to reality, as well as the previous one where we did the navigation or section, the nav bar section. And so we could display them to be flexed. We could as well, when we hover, the changes color, and we as well did the header section. So what we are trying to do is to get a similar look of this website, whereby we create our own portfolio looking as beautiful as this, right? So not to waste so much of your time, I also want to pinpoint some few things. If you look at this website right now, and look at ours, so the difference is that I placed mine to be 100%. The height should be 100% view height, so that each of my section, I want them to be 100% view height, aside from the navbar section, right? So that's it. Well, another thing I also want to talk about, if we go to our CSS, and we go straight to the header section, yes. So you could see where I place it, the height will be 100%. Well, I'm going to leave the source code at my GitHub. You could go get them so you could follow along properly. So I gave it a 100% view height. Another thing I did was passing the widget to be 100%. So if you give your widget 100% and you also want each of the content to have a 100% widget, you don't have to start typing widget 100% anymore. So we could also do that by placing it to be flex 1, the widget, the flex to be flex 1. So it's going to automatically detect that I want this header section, half of it, in as much as we have 100% view widget. I want this to be 100% view widget as well. So we give it a flex 1 to take half, and this thing, the SVG as well, to be flex 1. So they both take half of the screen, 100%, 100%. So that's why I place this flex 1 over here under the header, the class selector of header info. So, and the span. So if you do that, you notice everything will be 100% widgets. But you could also target each of them individually, because creating the HTML, we as well specify them individually. So to do what I did was just letting the website knows that I want my description, the max widgets, to be 70%, and you can see where the max widget comes in. So what this max widget basically do is, yes, I know that this has a flex 1. Oops. Okay. I know that this has a flex 1. That means it's going to take up to 100% view widgets. But I also want this description to be the max widget to be 70%, so it does not, stretch so, and it does not stretch so much, and as well as it looks more presentable, right? So that's it. That's why this max widget comes in. We could also do the same for max height. I want the maximum height to be whatsoever given value you pass it. So this is the property of max widget and the value of 70%. So there's also another thing called the minimum widgets to be minimum widgets. So the minimum widget does likely the same thing, but the difference is that um, everything will everything will take place, but I want the minimum size to be 70%. So the difference between max and minimum is simple. Means when you're stretching, I want you to stretch not above 70%. And when you are shrinking, I want you to shrink not below 70%. Notwithstanding, the 70% is not a given figure. It could be anything 10%, 20. It could also be rem, it could also be centimeters, etc. So the difference between this max and minimum widgets, it's really simple. It's just shrink and stretch. Stretch the max to this maximum point and shrink to this maximum. Don't go to this minimum point. So that's all what I did. So those are the few changes I made. I made while I was debugging. So, and if you, in case you don't know what debug means, debug is just finding a syntax error. That's it. So if you don't know what syntax is, you just go to Google and search what is the meaning of syntax. All right. So that's it for the header and the navbar section. Our next one to talk about is the projects. So, and if you see the way they do this, it's really beautiful. Whereby you can click and it start moving around. To achieve this, we could achieve this in two ways. We could easily achieve this using jQuery, as well as we could achieve this using CSS. But this is not a jQuery course or a JavaScript course. That means we can also achieve it using Node.js, but a CSS course. So that means we should achieve this using CSS, right? Right. All right, guys. So we are trying to achieve this, right? And one more thing I want to talk about before we go for the topic for today, the task for today is, in our last tutorial, we used the SVGs to get this result. I mean, these icons, right? We use SVGs. I told you there are different ways you can achieve the same results. And one of them was SVGs, PNG, and as well the icon, getting an icon from a library. So this time we should use getting an icon from a library. So you don't just get this result, you also know how to use CDN links. So what CDN simply means is content delivering network. So by the name, I want you to deliver me your content to my website. So that's what it does. I mean, so what you should just do is to go to your browser and search for this link, icons quotes CDN link. I'm going to leave the link anyway in the description. So you just icons quotes CDN link. And if you see my browser, the reason why I got this link at the top of my Google search is because of this gripper Google extension I installed in my browser. So gripper, it's a very useful tool, and you could see how useful it is. I mean, just by simply searching for this link, I got it at the top of my Google search. So I will friendly advise you to install Gripper. While you do that, you will also get the link in their website directly. So you just click on the first link. On the first link, your website always comes at first. So you just click this link, right? I'm going to leave the link in the description below, this link, and you copy this link and paste it at the head of your browser, of your HTML doc type. So you can see I already have mine here, so there's no need to duplicate it in my website, in my source code still. Oops. I forgot to put my head. HTML tag. Okay, and once you do that, go back to your browser and go to this link. I'm going to leave the link in the description. So once you do that, you can gain any of their elements on their websites, such as the icon. So let's get an icon. So you can see they say they have over 4,000 icons, 500 icons, different type, and so what I'm using, explore. So you can see how I got to and search for the icon you want to use. So this was the icon we used earlier, right? So and the last tutorial, sorry, we used the SVG by just downloading it and copying it to our site. But this time you should click on this link, copy, and go to your source code and paste it. Replace the SVG with this line. So the reason why I friendly advise you to use this, it makes your code looks neater, and aside from that, it makes it look more readable. It gives it a good readability, and makes you that you could see how strong this one looks. But we don't have to replace that, because so you could replace this SVG, those long SVGs you saw of this diagram. So you could replace it with an image, your image, any image that represents your website. So, but I want you to replace all SVGs such as this, and this with that icon. Well, the choice is yours anyways. And you could replace this as an image so your code looks more neater and easy for you to read and follow along. So let's just, once you do that, you come back to the tutorial. Well, another well, the reason why I already have my images here is because of I've already put my HTML. I've written them in my site already. So, but don't worry, I have this link in my GitHub repository. My GitHub, you could get the file from there. Okay, so let's just continue. All right. So the first thing we need to do to start styling them, we just copy the first element we want to style, and since it's a class selector, we begin it with a dot and pass it, right? So we just open the brackets and give it text island. I want to give it text island center. Justify content. Center island items. Center island. This time content center. Let's give it a position of relative and let's give it color. So I already showed you guys how to watercolor, how to place color, the three ways you can write your colors, the name, the hex, and as well as using RGB. So, and using hex, you could do that either the short hex or the long or the default hex. So hex is just the name is equal to color code. The code name of this code of white is FFF. So you could pass it whatsoever color you want, but this time I want to give a color of #3535 just 35 35 35. Alright, so let's give it a font size of so let's give it our font size of 2.8 or 2.4 pm and font weight should be bold and you should give it a bottom 100 pixels. We'll see. Let's go back, refresh. Alright, we're getting something similar already. Alright, so you could use and you could change this look by adding your own font family. But this time I don't want to add any font family in mine. So you could change this look by adding your font family. Where we added font family Montserrat by doing font and dash family, and you pass it the name. So there are so many default font family you could use in your text editors, but you could also pass it an external font family by importing their CDN links to your website. But this time I don't want to give any font family. So I'm okay with that. The next, what we should do now is to style our slider, right? The way to it could be like this, like theirs. So what you should do is styling them one by one, like I always advise you to do. So and I want to give this a position of relative, and I want to give the height of 100%, and I want to give it a bottom tone still of 100 pixels. So nothing. Alright, so what I'm targeting now is the parent of this slider. So the slider looks well, right? And you can see it's already looking nice. You can see it's already looking nice. So the next will be our slider itself, not the parent, which is this. So I want to target the slider now itself. This, excuse me. So to do that, all we should do is to copy the parent, paste, and the slider class itself, which is this. Alright, we start. We give it a height of 100%, and this time we'll give it the white space of no wrap, and font size of let's give it font size 0 because it doesn't really need any font size. Transition, transform, just give it transition directly. Transition of 0.8 seconds. Alright. So we save. So what we've done so far. Okay. Alright. Alright. So let's go back to our HTML file, and this time target the images inside of our slider. I want to target these images to position properly, because you can see it on our site, it's looking nice, but it's not positioning properly like the one we are trying to get. You can see there's, you have to click a button to move, and it's positioned properly and looking very nice. Looking positioned properly and looking very nice. So let's jump right into our source code and target this image. So to do that, first I want to target everything, all of these images, all at once, and not just targeting the images. I want to target it as this parent. Target every child under this parent, and every child under this parent are images. So there are several ways you can do that, but doing that this way, we uniquely arrange it to be proportional to one angle, because targeting all these images is you doing the display of block or overflow hidden. If you do overflow hidden, it's going to only accept one. What I'm trying to say, if we do slider overflow hidden, and refresh, you can see that it's not going to, we can't see other images inside like the way we were scrolling before. You can't scroll anymore, so we can't target those images like that just by using the image tag, or by passing in the image tag like this to style, or by putting an overflow of hidden. No. So what we should do now is, so you can't, if you refresh, you can't target, you can't move. So now since I removed it from here, you could see now you can move all around. So but that's not what we want. We want this side to look just like this. Okay. So what we're going to target first is the we're going to use what they call the all selector, just like I taught you guys in the first lecture. So we will copy this, we'll paste it, and this time I want everything um everything under this slider, and you know what is greater than means? It means everything beneath any beneath any selector. It could be class element or ID selector. So I want everything under here, this class selector. I want everything all at once, and not just the images, because we could also add more things. Then we could add something like paragraph. We could also add something like a header. Like we could add an icon tag as well. So we could add any different properties inside of here. But we could also make this clickable by adding an icon tag around it. So I want to target everything. So because not just because for now we just have images here, I also want to target everything for future sake. Right. So to do that, first of all, we should give it the font size of 1 rem and a display. To change the display, because the parent display is flex. That's why it's flexing like that. That's why it's flexing like this. So I want to change the display to be an inline block to line up like a soldier. And we also want to change the vertical eyeline to be top. So they will be on top of each other. And we want to pass it a height of 100% and give it a widget of 100% as well. We also want to give it a background and background of none and 50% no repeat. This time we want to give the background size. We want to give it a property of background size and a value of cover. And we'll also give it a property of box shadow and the value of an RGBA. So RGBA. So you could give it any color, but I want to pass it my own color. If you want my own color, all you need to do is to follow along. 0. This color is a black color, so it's going to be 0, 0, 0, 0.19 opacity, or 19 opacity. We give it a space, 0 pixel, 10 pixel, 20 pixel, comma. Pass it another color, RGBA, because it's a box shadow. We are mixing colors together. That's all we are doing here. 0, but another black color, 0, 0, space 0.23, space 0 pixel, space this time 6 pixel, space 6 pixel, and we are done. Okay, so we also want to pass the padding left of 18% and the same padding right to no 15%. All right, we save and slide sliders. All right, let's save. We go back here, save to as well. We go to our site and refresh. Okay, it's still giving it this display, but this time giving it a good positioning by the first one. Don't worry, we will still, let's jump right in. All right, next is our guy here. Okay, so the next one we should target is this previous, the button. Because if you look here, they have this button here and this button here. So we also have, we want to target these our buttons to be like their own, to be like this. If we go back and copy this, paste. Before that is the class selector. We begin with the dot. We copy the parent of it. So just copy this one alone and we paste it here. Alright, so we this time around we want to give the position to be absolute, and we want to give a Z index to be 1. So what this Z index simply does is placing objects, placing properties, context. So if you look here now, this Z index of this could be 1 and above. So, and why this? If the Z index is 1, this will be Z index of 0. That means it's placed on top of this. So if this image here is Z index of 2, here will be Z index of 3. So it's going to be placed on top of it. So that's what Z index simply does. Placing image, not just images, placing context. That's what Z index does, placing context. So we'll give a top of 50% and widget of 100%. We'll give it a height of 0 this time, and we should give it a translate, yes, 0, minus 50%. All right, so you should already know the use of important by now. It simply means I want to make sure this particular code works, that in CSS. That's what it means. So because sometimes with the different browser version and the different uses of our sites, so we use important to make sure that this executes. So we should friendly advisable, you should not use important, or you could still use important if you want. So we'll also pass it the font family of uni icons and wrap it with along with this icon. So we end it our semicolon. Okay. So how this unique icon is an external font family, and it's not a default font family like Aria or um, Bandana or sans serif. So we just import icons from an external library, which means an external website, into our website by their CDN, like we do. So once we do it, we could pass in the font family by just typing font family and the name of the icon inside of our close. So we put the font size to be 100 pixel because of this is an icon. So to target an icon, we can also target them using the font size. So we put the font size to be 100 pixel and the line height to be normal. Let's go and refresh. Okay. The reason why we have multiple icons here is because of we are trying to target these images to be an animation, to be a moving animation like this, a moving object like this, without the use of jQuery. Because when I check that, they use jQuery to target this moving image like this, but why we are targeting our own using just pure CSS, because of this course is for CSS. So that's why we are having this multiple icon. You will see the reason why we are having this in CSS in short. All right. So if you see in the HTML, there are multiple icon left. All right. So now we will work on the icon now to be one. So to do that, we will target. Let's go back here. You can see now the previous, and they're under this. All right. So you can see now they are under this. They are under a div. You know what a div means now, right? Block level elements. So this icon that is encoded inside of an anchor tag. This icon is encoded inside of an anchor tag, and which is under the block level element div. So you could see them, they are multiple. That's why they are multiple here. Right? So we want to style this, we want to make all of this one, and as well as do this function, move this object front and back the way I want, right? So to do that, first we want to target this div that is the block level element to this icon right here. So to do that, we also want to target all the divs. We cannot just be writing div and div and div and div and div and div, or write them just once. So to do that, what we just do is to first of all copy this parent, the parent of it here, and everything directly under it. So you know what they mean by directly under. This is the class, which is the parent. What is directly under this class is this div, and what is directly under this div is this anchor tag. Same goes for the rest. So now that's why we use this greater than symbol, means you are directly under me, right? And what is there? This is a div. A div is a block, is an element selector. So we started with a div, not the class selector. Onwards, we start with a dot, a period. We start a class selector with a period, and we start an ID selector with a pound style, a pound. So this time, this is an element selector just by its name, div. We'll do div plus div, make them together, space, and we want the visibility to be hidden, and put the visibility hidden. So if we save now, we go back and refresh, you can see now that they become one. They are inside of themselves. We achieve them to be, one. So they've not yet been wrapped around, which is fine. Everything is one by one. So you could see that this is now one, right? And we still haven't achieved this display of the images. No problem. So the next we should get is this anchor tag, because it's directly under this div and it's the one holding our icons. So we have to work on him too first. So first we should get this guy down, and to get the child element of that div, this div, this div, the anchor tag is the child element and this is the parent element. So to get that, what we should do is copy the parent, right, and paste it here, right. So an anchor tag is an element, so it's going to be an element selector. That's why we place it by its name, an anchor tag. We give it a background, this time of transparent. So I don't want it to be important because it's still transparent. And we give it a position of absolute. So I want it to be absolutely proportional to whatever display I want to make it view. So this time we'll width of not 160 pixel, and we give it a height of 60 pixel. Okay. All right. We want to give it an opacity. So what an opacity does, like the one, is similar to the one of the RGB. So it's just fading in and the brightness. So it just fade and being bright. So I want this thing to fade the opacity to, to be 0.7. So to fade in as 0.7. So opacity, just like the contrast, means the thickness of the elements, how it should view. So I want it to fade a little bit. I don't want the brightness to be so, I don't want it to be so bright. So in HTML5 we've also introduced another way to place transition by adding, by adding WebKit, because some browser need WebKit for you to add transitions to your elements. So we could do that by just typing WebKit and / transition. So not transform, just WebKit / transition. So this is a transition. The next comes along is timer. So we want to give our timer to be 0.3 seconds. So anything that is being transformed or transitioned to be anything, it's mostly timing. So you should know that whenever you see transition, you should know that the value would be of seconds. Timing will be of timing. So any property of transition, you should know that the value should be timing. So, and if you see any property of opacity, you should know that the value should be numbers. Just so let's quickly move forward. We also give it the transition itself to be the same, and this time I want to give it a transform. I want to transform the element. So to transform elements is almost applies the same way for transition because of the web browser um, permissions. I don't know, but some browser does not accept some properties while others accept. So to do that, we'll just type the name WebKit, or we just copy this and paste here, but change the transition to transform and transform translates, open the bracket, -50%. Alright, so the use of important is simple. It's just to specify the browser that I want this code to this line of code is important to me, so it must work. That's what the use of important is, just by the name. But you will friendly advise you not to use um, important. In some cases, it is needed. Transform itself. Just copy this and paste. Okay, and now let's see all of the things so far. Okay. 290 pixel. Okay, we haven't achieved the result yet. We'll come back to that. Let's keep styling. Let's me also. Okay, I think this should be translated twice. So let me see. Still not achieved the result. Mm, see. See. Okay. Or you can make this overflow hidden. Okay. We've achieved the we've not achieved this, we've achieved the other one, not achieved this. Alright. So let's keep debugging. Let me keep debugging to look for where I omitted something. Okay. Mm-hmm. Okay, let me leave a white space. And leave white space. Mm, okay, we haven't achieved anything yet. We haven't achieved that yet. Okay, but I also don't like the way we'll come back to that. Mm, okay, yeah, let's just copy this and paste next. And this time I want to target all of the A as well individually. And let's give it left or to and right up to 90 pixel fresh. Okay, now you see that we've almost gotten this, this look. So, but we still need to push this further. Let's give this 320, right? To be 320, and okay, but oops, we have double. Alright, so we still need to push them to come closer to each other more. Okay, and reach 60 pixel. I want the other one to the left. 90, okay, still 370. Oops. Okay. 350. I'm not that accurate. Most times I guess my size. So there are more professional ways to do this. I would advise you to also um, do more practice for yourself. So if we over this immediately, that it transits a color to, I think, golden rod, which is beautiful, but ours is taking color from. Okay, to do that, it's simple. um what we should do is, you know copy this content above here. I mean, all we are trying to target is this anchor tag here. So whenever we hover into this object, this icon, whenever we hover around it, it should transit to yellow, or I mean a golden color like this. Transit to a golden color. So that's all we are trying to do now. To do that, we don't have to start typing again. We could just copy this above content, the content above, and paste here, and pass it a special selector by giving it a colon. So to pass it a special selector, all you need to do is to call in the selector, or which is in this cases, and pass it a special selector like this, followed by the word hover, because we're trying to, because whenever we hover around that object, we want to give it a color to be rod golden rod. I want. All right, and I also want it to the transition to be 3 seconds, quickly come and go, or let's give it 5 seconds. All right, so if we refresh now and we hover, you see the way it transits to golden rod with the specific given time frame we gave it. So you can see whenever we use transition, it's all about time frame. So whenever we hover, see how it beautifully appears, right? But we have not yet achieved, if we click for it to move like this, right? And we don't want to use any other language but CSS to achieve that, because this course was designed for CSS tutorial. All right, so to achieve that, what we need to do is simple. It's simple, and but before we achieve that, I also want to um I also, if you look here now, you see that they have another alternative navigation and button, which are these dots beneath the images, our projects. So if you see these dots now, once you click on them, they 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 move around. They do the same thing, the same function with this. All right. So to achieve that, we'll go back to our HTML, and beneath the projects, you will see another class called bullets. So just copy it and paste here. So don't forget, it begins with a dot because it's a class selector. And all right, so to start that, I want my position, because it's under this, and we don't want to be relatively proportional to any content. So maybe once we move, once what I wanted to be stiff, sticky, static. So to get that result, you need to change the position to place the position to be absolute. And so I want the widget to be it's a small dot, so we should just give it 30 pixels, and the height as well. You can give the height we auto, it's going to automatically take the widget. So, and this time I want the line height to be 30 pixels as well. And the text decoration to be none, because it's, look at our own. Oops. Okay, because of the overflow hidden. Yeah, the overflow hidden. Remove every content, but don't worry, let's just continue. That's not really important. We'll come back to it. The bullet. So, but just know we are targeting this the right here, this block level element right here. And the next you should target is the anchor tag again. So to target that, just copy here. Just copy and I want directly on there. So we pass it as display of inline block. And give it a widget. Okay. But this is supposed to be displayed no matter even if the overflow is hidden. Okay. Wait. Let's just delete this. And this too as well. Let's start again. Let's pass it the position of absolute. Okay, and this time we'll give it the Z index of 2. Okay, and we give it a button of 0. Pardon. 10 pixel 0. Right, let's see. Alright, so the reason why it didn't appear before is because of, the reason why we could bring it back after setting the parent of this to be overflow hidden. You know the main overflow hidden to hide every obstacle element. So every other element that is not relatively proportional to this. So, but to bring back the element is the same thing I told you about the Z index power. So to use the power of Z index by placing our objects or our elements. So this means this is by default this is a Z index of 0, and we brought this one to be above it by using Z index of 1, right? So to bring this above all other default Z index, we have to give it a higher level number, which is Z index of 2. Because so far we've given this one Z index of 1. We want this to be also above this content as well. So, and that's why we pass it a Z index of 2 to give it the visibility and place it above other contents. So let's continue. We get the bottom of 0, and we as well as giving it a padding. So we should also give it a widget of 100%, and we should also, as well, we should also give a text, center it by giving it a text island to be center. Yes. So if we go back now and refresh, you can see that it's being centered at the middle of this project, our project, right? So still not achieve this result like this. So you can see their own. All right. So to target this, to make this look as beautiful as that, what we should do is simple. So to do that, we just go back to our HTML file. We know now what our target is, this anchor tag, right? And inside of the anchor tag, we want to also target this list icon. So, but before we get to this icon, let's get the icon tag one by one. Don't forget. All right, so just copy the parents, which is obviously these two classes, and let the browser know that the CSS know that we are targeting the proportional to the one directly proportional to the one that's the child. I mean the child. We're targeting the child beneath it. All right. Let's not talk so much. Let's work. So we should pass the display flex to be inline block, and this time around we should give it a widget. Just the same thing we did. So we'll perform and give it a height of 30 pixels. And give it a line height of 30 pixels as well, and give it a text decoration of none, and we give it a text island to be centered. So let's center everything. So I think we should also give it a background color, obviously. So this time I want to use an RGB, so of white. So all I'll do is 255, 255, 255 into 3 places, and pass it down. Give it a transition, but before that, give it a WebKit transition. And this time we want it to be 0 points. Let me be a little bit sluggish, 5 seconds. All right. Okay. I don't know what that one inside is. It doesn't matter. I think I'll give it a transition. Same thing. Let's do the same thing. 0 point. And we should still just copy this. Let's still target the inner. And copy this background color. This, but this time change this to 0.5. All right. I also want to I also want whenever we hover, because if you look at this, whenever you hover, okay, you can see that it gives another color. So, and the color is the active one. All right. So to do that, just copy and paste, and this time we don't want it to be the plus. We want it to be hover. And then 0.7 make it important. Okay. Now that we have done, that we have achieved, now that we have successfully achieved this, it's not yet over. I know. What? Now that we have successfully achieved this, I think it's not time for us to achieve this, and as well as whenever we hover, it should be like this. So to do that, and to increase this size like this, what you can do is simple, is to increase your height. I mean, if we increase this to 60 pixel, for example, the height would be 60 pixel, and refresh. So okay, this dot you are saying it is is the list item. Is this list item you are seeing here? You can remove it, and as well as changing this background color to be a dark color. But I put my list item there because I just want to use dots. I just like that dot. I prefer using that dot. So this default dot from list item. So you could do this and increase. You could do this and change your background color, as well as giving it a border radius. A border radius. Yeah, but something like border radius to be 50%. So once you hover around, once you can see that you, on my hover, you can change your hover to be a different color. You could change your colors. So you can see that it's being circled. So you could do that and give all, and make your circle and choose your own widget and height. But for me, I I just prefer using that dot because it makes it look more sexy. Yeah, you can see how beautiful it is. All right, so to achieve that, the next result, we have to push for that. And from here, it's going to be a little bit tricky. That's why you could just follow up from the source code in my GitHub. All right, so, or you could just um, type along with me. I believe the video is clear enough. And pass the background color, background RGB, white, white color. But I want the opacity to be 0.5. Okay, so all I just did is to target all of this anchor tag, the buttons, all of the buttons which is obviously this anchor tag that is the child at once. That's all I did, and I passed it a background color and reduced the opacity. That's all I just did. So now I want to target the active. So what I will just do is to write navigation. Let me capitulate this. Navigation buttons. Alright, and this one, the first one is for all of it. Alright, so the next one is active. The active button. Okay, and we passed in next URL. So okay, now target that using an ID, like an ID. Set the procedure target. No, I think with the first one, paste here, change the opacity to 1. Okay. Alright. So just copy this and repeat it 3 more times because we need 4 of them. When you look here, there are 4 over here. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, we need 4 of them. So we should just change them by their references, the anchor references, which is S1, the ID sign of S1. So this should be 4, this should be 3, 2, and 1. Okay, so another thing you should also do is targeting the end, changing the end child to the correct value, 2 and 1. Okay, so if you want to add more slider, you could add more rows here. I mean, if you want to add more buttons, like button, make the 5th one, so something like S5. Over here, you should just paste and change it to S5 as well by changing this S5 and not end child 5, end child 5. So, but I don't want 5. I just need 4. Alright, so we save now, we go back, refresh. So, alright, let me also take off. copy background position. Okay, let's just proceed further because let's just work on the visibility. Right. So this is what we are working on now. To do that, first let me comment previous and next container or next visibility. All right, now this is just for personal and sake. You don't have to follow me to comment. But I mean, comments does a lot of help sometimes, most times. Click next. So all I'm doing, I am just working on the visibility of that button I showed you. Not hidden visible. Okay, this for the general. I want, as soon as the website loads, it should be visible. All of this should be visible, but I also want second active. Give one of them to be an active, so you know that this is where we are, the particular image we are. So if we are in this image, you can see when whichever one we click shows this is the active and this is. So I want to do the same thing for our. So whenever we click here, it also indicates that too. So if we click here, if we go to the next page, the next project, preferable, the next project, you should also indicate it here with the button at the buttons. So it should also, which to us to know which one is the active button, we have to target it one by using the Presidio selector. So this is an advanced CSS. That's why I wouldn't say much. I would just advise you to follow me along. So you just wouldn't be important. It should rather be brief. Next. So the S1 is the targets. Now all you just do is copy and paste it here. Paste it 2 more times. And 3, this should be 4, 3 like this, 4, this should be 3. Okay. Right. Okay, so let's target our animation positioning. Transform, not transform, translate x axis and x axis should be 0, kits. Let's set this to do the same here. 100% minus 200. Okay, so we say let's go back to our page. We refresh. So now you see, whenever we click, we can move around. So what I did just look like magic to you, all I did first was to target. If you see, if you move here now, look at this background color right here. It indicates the active section we are in, or the active image, or the active project we are in, and the animation, the next was doing the animation. So all you need to just copy the code in the from the GitHub and paste it in your CSS file. So that's all I was just doing all this while. I didn't say much because this is an advanced CSS whereby we have to go through a long tutorial for you to really understand what transform and translate means, and as well as using transition. So in general, using CSS animations, it's a whole course of its on its own, but I will be glad to teach you guys that as soon as we are done with this project. So we should still target our this. All right, let me just give it a Okay. No, 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 no. So what am I supposed to get next? I think first I don't like the way this image shrinks, because if you look at their own still, uh, I mean it's looking like this original size, but all I'm trying to say is that for you to with CSS3, for you to retain your original image size, like if you notice this image shrinks, but I don't like it, I want it to retain the original image size. All you need to do is to, let's go to, is to target the image itself. I mean this is what I'm talking about. I mean this image, all I need to do is to target the image itself. So to target that image, what we should do is, it's obviously um, this slider and this. All right. So and to target the image, call the name, and we'll do what we call objects, and you pass in the property called objects fit with a value of cover. So pass it object fit cover and give the value of cover. We'll refresh. You can see it's giving you the original size. Wow, it's bringing everything. So let me see. Let's just type more things and so, wait. Let's still add more style to this. Let's go under the first parent itself, this parent. Let's add more style to it. I mean this. Let's give it, let's, in case we need a text, we add text. It should be a default color 0 or black, and then the text. Let me give it center. Alright, so, and as well style every h2 element with minus 0.06. and the font size should be fresh. Takes no effect. Okay, you know what? We'll come back to all of it. Let's just delete and but still leave this text align and the rest. We'll come back to this. And also as well, delete this. I couldn't figure it out and I don't want to waste so much of the time. Let's continue with this. But this code, let you say, does this property and this value, that's the way to resize every object, most especially for icons. Object you're trying to fit inside of your website. So just finish. I just keep styling. Alright. The next I want to style is this. So we should not get this this rectangle or square shape. I want it to be, to do that we'll just call the parent CSS gal, change the border radius. I mean, this is all I'm targeting. This, no, this bullets. That's what I'm targeting now. Border radius, obviously 50% to make it circle. We'll give the margin, so pass it a margin to us. Bottom left 0 and top right we should give it to be 3 pixels. Alright, so pass it a color, an RGB of 0, 0, 0, 0.8. Text decoration should be none. So if I want to get rid of this dot, and we'll refresh. Okay, let me see. What is the problem? I don't think we have. I think we didn't. It shouldn't be. Or we're just targeting every. But if we do it this way, we're targeting every A element under this. But I won't specify, so I just better put this directly under the bullet. So I go back. You can see, right? But this dot inside of it, I want to get rid of it. So to do that, how about we just get rid of the HTML element itself, list. Okay. Refresh. You can see it's all gone. Alright, so now we have been able to achieve this same idea. You see, when we click we move around, and that's where we will indicate that the particular section we are in, that is active at the moment. So you can also use this button down here to indicate this particular section. So that's it for today. In this lecture, we're able to achieve, whenever we click a button, it could move like a cursor, and as well as achieving the active section. So we've also learned how to do that with pure CSS by using this target attribute. So what this basically does is targeting the end child of every element. So you could see how powerful presidio selector, and importantly, presidio selector could help us achieve a target. So in achieving every target, we achieve them by adding the link, a reference link. Usually to achieve a self link, a self link like we did now in our HTML, we pass the reference with a pound sign and give it the particular value we want to give it. So we can see the way we achieve it. We achieve it here by targeting the end child. So that's all what we basically do here. But if this still looks like Spanish to you, it's totally fine. I mean, this is an advanced CSS. We would not just learn it. I mean, Rome was not built in a day. So all you need to do, just copy and paste in your CSS file, and it's going to work just fine like this. To resize your image, I already taught you how we just target this image where we did it. We could use a different, because I'm sure you may use a different image. So you could target this image, this image. We could target it something like this by using an element selector, all image inside of my website. So I want the object fit to be cover. So but notwithstanding, this thing comes along with 4 other value, which is contain, center, cover, fit, or fit. So you could see that it has additional values such as contain, cover, fit, and center. So but using center, we center every image, every of the image proportional to the given value you want it to be. So in this case, we gave the image to be 100%. So if I can recall, if we go back, I think we gave our slider to be 100% widget. Yes. So it's going to be 100% widget, but still your image will retain the look you want it to be. So I don't think we've achieved that yet. Alright, let me go back to my HTML. This is our slider. Alright. Slider is a class selector. It's directly here. Okay, we save, we refresh. Still not targeting. We'll go to our CSS, right? Look at the parent. Okay.